Good evening, guys, and welcome to interview preparation session by 360 DGTMG. Uh, so today we'll just discuss some of the questions regarding data science, Python, and deep learning. So we'll just hold on for other 2 minutes, and let's other to join the session, and we'll start the session in a minute. Okay. So my first question for the day is, what is Python, and what are the benefits of using Python? If anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box, and we'll discuss the answer in a minute. So yeah, as we look into this, Python. Python is a high level and interpreted and general purpose programming language. Being it is a general purpose programming language, it can be used to build almost any type of application using the right tools and right libraries. By using these required tools and libraries which are available in the Python, we can almost type and we can build any type of application that way. This is what Python is. And what are the benefits of Python? The benefits of Python are it emphasizes the readability and reduces the cost of the programming maintenance. And also the second benefit is the language is capable of scripting and is completely open source and supports third-party packages, encouraging modularity and code rescues. So these are the two benefits of using Python. As we jump into the next question, what is a dynamically typed language? So if anyone knows the answer, please put me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer in a minute. Now, as we're looking into this, what is a dynamically typed languages? So, data types are basically used to check the duration and along with its execution, right? So, Python is basically an interpreted language and it executes each and every statement line by line, and thus the checking is done only by during the execution. Hence, Python is a dynamically typed language, which means Python can be run. It can be run line by line. So it checks each and every line during the execution part. So that's why it is called as an dynamically typed language. As we go for the next question, what is an interpreted language? If anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer in a minute. So, yeah, now as we're looking into this, what is an interpreted language? An interpreted language, it basically executes the statements line by line as a dynamically typed language. Also, it basically executes line by line. The statement is directly executed line by line, and the languages such as this Java, Python, R, PHP are the examples for this interpreted language. The statements which might be executed line by line regarding some of the statements are languages like Python, JavaScript, or these are all are the examples for this interpreted language. Okay, so yeah, as we jump into the next question, what is PEP and what is its importance? If anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer in a minute. Now, as we're looking into this, what is PEP and what is its importance? PEP. Basically, this PEP stands for Python Enhancement Proposal. This is a proposal. It is an official design documentation which provides the information to the Python community or describing a new features for Python, which means suppose the new versions will be coming for us, right? Suppose the new version is 3. Suppose the older version is 3.8, then we will get a new version called 3.8.1. So by which it some advanced stages, the more of the advanced improvement and updates the is called as this peptide, and it's especially important since its documentation style guidelines for the Python code. Okay, this is how this full form of the peptide is, and this is how what the peptide is useful in this Python. As we look into the next question, what is scope in Python? If anyone knows the answer, please put me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer in a minute. So yeah, now as we look into this, what is the scope in Python? So in a Python, there are objects classes, right? So in those objects, each and every object Python function which is inside a scope. So what is a scope? A scope is a block of code where where an object and the Python remains relevant with the scope, and it defines where you could use the objects without any prefixes or all. So instantly to say means which points should we use these objects and what were the defines for them, where should be the without any where should we use them without any prefixes. So this is how the scope is helpful in Python. As we look into the next question. So yeah, what are lists and tuples, and what are the difference between them? If anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box, and we'll discuss the answer in a minute. Now, as we look into this, what are lists and tuples, and what are the key differences between? What are the major differences between this list and tuples? Basically, list and tuples are of same sequences and same data types that can store a collection of objects in Python. Both this list and tuples follows equal function, which is storing of collections of objects in Python. So lists are represented with square braces, whereas the tuples are represented with parentheses. This is the main difference between them. And the next difference is lists. Lists are some immutable objects, whereas the tuples are from immutable objects. So lists are mutable objects, whereas the tuples are immutable objects. These are the major differences between them, and this is how list and tuple to be represented. Okay. So as we go into the next question, what are modules and packages in Python? If anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box, and we'll discuss the answer in a minute. Yeah. Now, as we look into this, what are modules and packages in Python? Modules. Modules are nothing but it is a simple Python file, and it has an extension of .py. So the Python file should be saving an extension of .py extension, and it can have set of functions as well as classes and variables defined and implemented. These are of modules. Okay. Now, as we go to the packages allows for only hierarchical clustering of the modules, namespaces, notations, and which avoid classes between the global variables, packages that avoid classes with the modules. Okay, I think what you people know the difference between the global variable and local variable. As we come to the next question, what are the differences between the arrays and lists? If anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer in a minute. as report names and about that that about that I think as what are the arrays and if anyone knows that. Yeah. Now, as we look into this, what are the differences between the arrays and the list? Arrays. Arrays in Python can only contain elements which are of same data types. Data types of arrays should be an homogeneous. Okay. List. What are lists? List in Python contains elements with different data types, whereas in arrays it should be of same data types, whereas in this it could be of different data types. I.e., in list the data types of can be heterogeneous. It has a disadvantage of consuming large memory, which means this list can would take which it consumes large amount of memory. Okay. Now, as we jump to the next question. Between Python and R programming, which one would you pick for text analytics and why? Why? What's the reason behind it for picking either Python, either R? If anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer in a minute. Yeah. Now, as we look into this, which one to choose for the best text analytics? For text analytics, Python will give an upper hand as compared to R due to some of the reasons, and those reasons are the pandas library. Pandas. What are pandas? Pandas are nothing but this is a type of library which we mostly use in this Python. So Python, pandas, and NumPy. These are the most important libraries which helps us to go further or further steps to be done in the Python. So pandas library in a Python, it offers easy to use of data structures, and Python has faster performance for all types of text analytics. Uh, where R is best for machine learning than text analysis. Okay, so if you want to go across some text analysis, then you have to choose Python. Suppose if you go for machine learning analysis, the part, then you have to choose R programming, which is best among it. So as we look into the next question, yeah, as we look into the next question, uh, what do you understand by linear and logistic regression? If anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer in a minute. Yeah. Now, as we look into this, what do you understand on the linear and logistic regressions? Linear regression. It is a form of statistical technique when the source of same variable y is predicted on the basis of score of second variable x, which if the predictions have been compared with between two different variables, then they're referred to as a predictor variable. Then those predictions are referred as predictor variables. Logistic regression, and that is called as linear regression. As coming to this logistic regression is a statistical technique for predicting binary outcomes from a linear combination of predicted variables. This is how what is the linear and logistic regression. And as we jump into the next question, what do you meant by autoencoders? And if anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer in a minute. Now, as we look into this, what do you mean by an autoencoder? Autoencoders are simplistic learning networks used for transforming both the inputs and outputs with minimum possible error, which basically transforms the inputs as well as outputs with minimum possible error. And an autoencoder receives unlabeled inputs, which means they haven't got any accesses. The one doesn't have any access with regarding the inputs that is encoded for reconstructing the output. And this is how this autoencoder goes. As we jump into the next question, what are tensors? If anyone knows the answer, please bring me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer. Now, as we look into this, what are tensors? Tensors are some of the mathematical objects which represents the collection of high dimensions of data inputs in form of alphabets, numbers, and ranks as some of the inputs to the neural network. This is how the tensor goes on. And as we jump into the next question, what is dropout in data science? If anyone knows the answer, please ping in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. Now, as we look into this, what is a dropout in data science? It is nothing but it's a tool in data science, which is used for dropping out all the hidden and invisible data and the units of networks and some random basics, and they prevent overfitting of the data by dropping 20% of these nodes so that the required space can be arranged with the iterations to coverage those networks. As we look into the next question, what are the different libraries we use in Python? If anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box. Yeah. What are the different libraries we use in Python? Basically, we use different libraries in this Pythons like pandas, numpy, statistics, TensorFlow, and all. Each has its own importance. So, as we come into the numpy is basically used for scientific computations, whereas pandas are used for tabular data. Scikit-learn is used for data modeling and data pre-processing. TensorFlow is used for deep learning, and NLTK is used for text pre-processing. And these are the all libraries which we mostly use in this pipe. Okay. Now, as we look into the next question, what are neural networks? If anyone knows the answer, please click in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer. As we look into this, what are neural networks? These neural networks are nothing but those are the replicates of the human learning experiences from neurons, and there are different there are defined into three different network layers, and those are the input layers and a hidden layer and output layer. This is how a neural network looks like and goes on. As we go jump into the next question, what is a data normalization and why do we use them? If anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer in a minute. Yeah, and now as we look into this, what is data normalization and why do we need it? The process of standardizing and reforming data, which is called as this data normalizing, and it is a process steps to estimate the data redundancy and often data comes in and you get the same information in different formats or not. So this is how the data normalization process goes on. As we look into the next question, what are hyperparameters? And if anyone knows the answer, please put me in the chat box. As we look into this hyperparameters, a hyperparameter is a parameter uh, whose value is an set before the learning process begins, which determines how a network is training and the structures of a network, such as the hidden units, the learning rates, efforts, all. These are all comes under this hyperparameter. And as we jump into next question, does Python supports multiple inheritance? If anyone knows the answer, please put in the chat. Now, as we look into this, yes, multiple inheritance means that a class can be derived from more than one parent class. But this Python doesn't support any multiple inheritance. This multiple inheritance will be come across Java. Java supports multiple inheritance. Okay. As we look into the next question, what is split function and how it is used in Python? If anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box. This split method is used to separate given strings in Python. It basically separates the given strings which are required by Python. Okay. So what is type conversion in Python? If anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer in a minute. Yeah. What is type conversion in Python? This type conversion basically refers to conversion of one data type into another data type, like int, which means converts data type into integer type, float, hexagon, octagon, tuple, set, list, dictionaries, string, which means converting this data type into another data type, which is called as conversion. So that's it for the day, guys. Hope this class is helpful to you. And let's meet for tomorrow's class and we'll discuss some more questions. Have a great day, guys. Bye. Thank you.